You know, it's funny. I used to tell people I'm not used to getting awards without having to get my butt kicked for them. When I used to compete, it's pretty cool. But you know, again, I talk about having teams and being of service. And being of service for me, my gray and my mental health stuff, it tells me all these negative things about myself. It's hard to be negative when you're of service to other people. Like those roommates in my head, it's the way we fight back. And you know, the greatest thing for me is when I started getting these groups together of vets and players, and again, it's a high risk group for suicide and for other issues, and I was like, wow, I've had some success. We've had a lot of success with these vets and athletes. I can now use this for the world. So by me being of service to vets, they showed me and they gave me the confidence that I can give this and open up to everybody else and be able to help the rest of the world with their mental health issues. So once again, I leaned into my teammates, these veterans, and these veterans were still able to be of service in a different way, which is pretty cool. I'm really honored to get this award, really honored. Here at the American Legion National Convention and getting the Good Guy Award today. How about this though? Man, look at that handsome fella right there. What an honor, really is an honor. Honor. For all our military out there, you are my family. I think what's most near and dear to my heart is I created something that I think was very authentic to me. And I always needed to be around fight teams for my whole life. When we talked about me having a book, how I turned my depression, anxiety into motivation, and you can too, the thing that's helped me the most is having a team. The thing that's helped me the most in between here is to be of service. So about 10 years ago, being around the NFL for all these years, I saw too many of my friends just go by the wayside. And when their uniform came off, they thought they lost their value, their team. At the same time, because I've known so many combat vets over the years from training guys, I saw the same exact thing. And I know the job isn't the same. But when that uniform comes off, the suck is the same. I said, man, well, why don't I put these two together? Combat vets, they look up to pro athletes, they look up to combat vets. If you put them together and we could start working our own stuff out, that's pretty damn powerful, it's magical. But when you have that uniform come off and you're by yourself, a lot of these guys in the NFL, I would tell them, hey, you play in the NFL, that is not who you are. What's behind your rib cage that got you to beat out millions and millions and millions, that's who you are. That suddenly doesn't just leave when the uniform comes off. And our veterans, you do such incredible things. Again, grace under fire, courage under pressure. You are there for your brothers and sisters. But when the uniform comes off, who reminds you of that? It's still there. You're just not getting told it. So I wanted to put together these groups, put them together so we remind each other of what our greatness is. And I could tell you this, you put a bunch of combat vets and athletes in a room together, it is smarter and a better problem-solving group than any Fortune 500 company I have ever been around. The emotional intelligence in this room, I'll take that every day of the week over anything else. The heart in this room, I will take that every single day over any other business. So, look, obviously, when we started this, I was worried about a lot of my football players with their mental health and committing suicide. But the 22 veterans a day committing suicide, that was just not okay. It was not okay. And I will spend the rest of my life doing whatever I have to make a dent in that number. I'm really proud that the first 5 years of our foundation for a very high-risk group, we had 0 suicides in those first 5 years. We've since had. And there's a couple reasons for this. One is that team, that accountability, right? My mental health issues, they make me very lonely a lot of times. Even when I'm not, the roommates in my head, they don't get along too great. When I have other warriors around me, they get them to talk nicely, get them to buy into each other. But when you have this group together who, we have a lot of things going on in here. They start to tell us things that just don't make a lot of sense. So if you're accountable, if I know, hey, I'm accountable to my brother over here, I've got to check in with him. So what I started to do with this group of vets, and now I've started to do it with the rest of the world, I started calling 2 people. Every time I felt that something was off, told 2 people, hey, something's wrong with me today. Something's not right. And I leaned into a bunch of combat vets. And I leaned into a bunch of badasses, a bunch of fighters and football players. And then I turned around and called 2 other people just to check up on them, not telling them anything was going on with me. And 90% of the time, I might have had somebody say, I'm doing fine. Or there's that 10% where somebody said, man, I'm so glad you called today. So it's that team, that accountability. But I think the biggest thing that we did at MVP with this accountability is I try to villainize suicide. It's not okay. And every time that I've had those suicidal ideations, I try to convince myself, hey, it's not just about me, it's about somebody else. I've got to be there for somebody else.